Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego may be the most unique dive coaster in North America. These rides are often criticized by coaster enthusiasts for poor pacing, but this one is a lot different. This coaster is smaller, but it's the only dive machine on the continent without a mid-course brake run. So does this make Emperor one of the stronger ones out there? Find out in this review. This coaster was announced back in 2019. It was advertised as California's tallest and fastest dive coaster. While it was the first dive machine to be built west of the Mississippi from Bolliger and Mabillard, Knott's Berry Farm had a dive coaster in 2018 from Gerstlauer named Hang Time. SeaWorld's new ride was originally supposed to be named Mako, just like the hypercoaster at the Orlando park. But at IAAPA 2019, they decided to change the name to Emperor, and I'm glad they did that because both rides deserve their own unique names. Emperor was originally part of SeaWorld's big spending spree for the 2020 season. The ride was supposed to open in spring of 2020, and I saw the coaster fully built when I visited the park in March of that year. But a certain virus struck a week later. The pandemic kept SeaWorld San Diego's rides closed for over a year. When the rides reopened in 2021, Emperor did not. This was one of the 3 rides that SeaWorld very publicly decided to postpone until 2022, along with Busch Gardens Tampa's Iron Gwazi and Busch Gardens Williamsburg's Pantheon. Emperor finally opened in March of 2022, and it would be the tallest coaster in San Diego, standing 153 feet or 47 meters tall. It was placed in a former section of the parking lot, so some of the best views of this ride can be had from your car. It is a great way to get you hyped for your day as you drive in. While the park did at least make sure Emperor's area no longer looked like a parking lot, it does look shockingly barren still. The coaster is off in its own little area. You access it by heading down this long pathway next to Journey to Atlantis. It is the only ride down there. While I love this ride's entry sign, there is nothing else to see around it, and that sadly has been a theme with SeaWorld's newest coasters. You could do a lot with a coaster themed to penguins. Wouldn't it be cool diving underwater or zooming past some ice sculptures? Instead, you have a big open area and the coaster is just placed atop gravel. Even more shocking is how little shade this coaster has. This coaster opened with absolutely nothing, but the park went back and at least added some umbrellas along the queue line, plus a tarp above the waiting area in the station. The rest of it is completely exposed. You rarely see that with coasters. While I get that rain is a rare occurrence in San Diego, it does get hot, and I have to imagine this queue is very unpleasant in the summer months as the sun bakes down on you. If you have quick queue, it is worth noting this coaster's merge point is further back than the park's other coasters. You may still have a 15 or 30 minute wait depending how many trains are in use. There weren't many times the queue went beyond this point in my visit though. When you reach the station, you can pick your row. There's an extra space to wait for the front, and like most dive coasters, you'll likely have to wait a few extra cycles to ride up there. But I like Emperor best in back. While the visuals aren't quite as special on the hold, the drop has more oomph back there in my opinion. The one good thing about this queue is that you get some nice views of the coaster. Theming aside, I think this coaster looks quite appealing. The light blue track looks great. SeaWorld has used this color scheme quite a bit, but the park has to pick something that blends in with the sky to get this ride approved, so I don't blame them for doing so. Emperor has solid capacity. This is one of the smaller dive coasters, so the trains have 3 rows and seat 6 riders per row for a max of 18 riders per train. This ride can run up to 2 trains. When that happens, I imagine this line moves quite swiftly. When I visited the park, Emperor had just 1 train in use, but that wasn't too much of an issue on the day I visited. Station to station, Emperor takes roughly 1.5 minutes and the restraints are quick to check. Like the newer dive coasters, you have vest restraints with a redundant seatbelt. Now I prefer the older ratcheting harnesses because they offer a bit more room to experience the airtime on the drops. But I have no issue with the vests from a comfort standpoint. They're snug and eliminate the possibility of headbanging. Not that the latter has ever been an issue on the dive coasters. Emperor, like the other dive machines, is extremely smooth. There isn't even a hint of a rattle here, which is to be expected with a new B&M. Once dispatched, you round a corner and ascend a steep lift hill. At the top, you slowly creep around a corner, and you get a stunning view of both the park and Mission Bay. It is one of the best views you can get on any coaster. The park really is in a gorgeous location. Most of the time, the train will creep forwards and engage the holding brake. But I curiously saw a few cycles where the train oddly just went right over the drop. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience the coaster when it was running like this, but I imagine the airtime in the back rows would have been extra sweet. And it would have shocked the bejeebers out of me too. The holding brake typically holds you for 3 to 4 seconds. It is extra freaky up front because you're staring directly at the ground. Then you're released and go down the vertical drop. Everyone gets good floater airtime, and it has a bit more of a kick at the start if you're in back. You float out of your seat the whole way down, but it does end sooner than the other dive coasters due to this ride's more modest height. The pullout pummels riders with positive Gs, which is a recurring theme in this coaster. Each valley is really good forces, and they continue as you rise up into the first inversion, in Immelmann. This is the usual follow-up to the first drop on a dive coaster, and I'm fine with that when they maintain the Gs like this one. After another strong valley, you have a fast overbank turn. It banks so severely that it's darn close to being a cutback inversion. But it's the one element on the ride that's a miss for me. It doesn't do all that much. This leads into a 0G winder. This is my favorite inversion on the ride. You get some decent hang time on the flip, and then the Gs intensify as you spiral back down to the ground. Without pause, you glide through a corkscrew. It's fast, but you still get a bit of hang time at the apex because it's sorta drawn out. Emperor then finishes things off with a low turn that offers some of the best positives on the ride. You then hit the brakes and return to the station, ending the 2,411 foot or 735 meter long coaster. Now this ride is on the shorter side, but that's a common occurrence with dive coasters, and it's not too surprising here given how this one holds its speed. This coaster's biggest strength compared to the other dive coasters is its pacing. Emperor actually maintains its speed start to finish, and outside that overbank, which is still fast by the way, there are no real dead spots. That's a stark contrast to most other dive coasters that'll leave you with time to catch your breath. So what would I rate Emperor? I would give this dive coaster a 7 out of 10. This is a good coaster. This filled a much needed void at SeaWorld San Diego. It gave the park a good multi-looper. A dive coaster isn't usually the ride you'd use to satisfy this, but it works. You have a sweet drop at the start, followed by 3 fun inversions. And as I've stated a few times, the pacing beats most other dive coasters. But there are several dive coasters I prefer, which is why I'm only giving this one a 7. I tend to prefer the larger ones. Not only does the initial plunge have more airtime, but they tend to offer a second drop midway through the ride that's just a notch below that of Emperor's main drop. But it all comes down to personal preference, and I cannot deny that Emperor offers a different ride than you're used to from the model. So those are my thoughts on Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego. What are your thoughts on this dive machine? How do you think it stacks up to the bigger ones? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.